And we're live. Hey, Tyler.
Hey Adam, how's it going?
Good. You've seen a couple of these episodes. You see how excited I get about my countdown?
Oh, yes, I have. You're always on it.
People say, "Hey, you got a podcast?" No, I have a countdown, and I make my own countdowns, and that's what.
It's very unique, different.
Well, Tyler Short is with us. Hello, everybody. Adam Zembruski here with Hospiamo. My brother Matt Zembruski with Agile Game Changers will be here probably in about 15 or so minutes. We're going to be talking for about 45 minutes or so. And welcome to our millions and billions of listeners out there in the world, to the podcast with no name. But we do kind of affectionately call it People Who Move. All right. So that is inspired by a TED Talk from Sir Ken Robinson. If you all want to look it up, it's awesome and amazing. He talks about creativity in our education system, and it's amazing. And he said that there are people who don't move, and then there are the movable, and then there are the people who move. And so I'm very inspired by that. And that is one of the reasons why Tyler is here today, because I have found him to be a person who moves. And how we define that is the fact that he's a creator, not just a talker, right? Has ideas, and he takes these ideas to the next step, and a wonderful collaborator. And I have found him to be one of, and I'll tell you why, but one of about 1,000, maybe one out of 1,000, because I have asked a lot for the past couple decades. I have offered people to be business friends, or I've asked people, given my card to thousands of people, saying, "Hey, listen, if you ever need help in your career or your life, just give me a call." And I'm listed on the American Hotel Lodging Association mentor list. I'm listed on the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation mentor list, because I do have that, um, and went through a lot of troubles with that. But I'm listed on all these, and no one ever calls. And so I did a little experiment, and this is why Tyler is here. Sorry. Um, Tyler and I met few years ago. Tyler was working at a hotel that I was visiting, um, in business, working in an asset management role. And we met briefly. I remembered it. We got in touch on LinkedIn, I think. We were first first networked. And then a couple years later, he goes on with his career. I go on with mine. And it was my birthday, and it was a couple weeks after our first episode here. So this is episode number 36. Um, Very excited about that. We're not stopping. We only planned on doing 5 or 10, but we're doing this live through LinkedIn, and it's on a loop through YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all those great, and X, Twitter. So on my birthday last year, I get kind of jazzed up, and I think everybody does on LinkedIn. You get all these nice birthday messages. And I remember one year, a few years ago, I didn't have the allow birthday message, or no, some toggle in LinkedIn. Tyler, you probably know about it too. It's like you have to actually say, make my birthday or my birthday public, right? So I must have like turned it off one year, and I was like, where's all my birthday messages? And I felt like bad. I was like, why am I feeling so bad? But then I turned it back on, and then a couple years later, I get a flood of these really nice, messages through LinkedIn, and it's kind of a feel good kind of a thing. So last year I was like, all right, let me try something, and I'm going to look it up here online, and I'm going to share my screen a little bit, Tyler, because we're going to be looking at your new website and all that. So,
Yeah, sounds great.
but you remember this, and I think other people might too. But on June 11th last year, I said, "Hey, I appreciate all your birthday messages, but instead of taking the time to say happy birthday, Adam, take the time to make a post and reply to this post and recognize a mentor of yours that's been influential in your life." And I forwarded it and re-forwarded it and tried to get a lot of engagement with it, because I was like, I really wanted see if people do want to do that. Well, not many people did, and that's okay. But you did. You did, Tyler. And I was like,
Did.
what? I'm going to stay in touch with this guy because that is very unique. Um, One, I will ask you if you remember who you mentioned.
Yes, I do.
Who do you
Her
mention?
her name was Christy Johnson. She was working over on the Wyndham corporate team, and it was really great to get to know her. She was very inviting when I first joined the company, and all she had to do was cheat, cheat, cheat. It was always learning something new whenever I would speak with her every time.
And that's why we're still in touch. You know, you took the time to do that, and you wrote a really nice thing about her. And so, what I commit to doing later today is I'm going to send her a little hello, and let her know again that she's being recognized for being a good person and a good mentor and someone that, like you said, is you learned a lot from. So I'll do that just to say hello and recognize her. Um, but that's and then I get busy. Everyone gets busy, but then you poked me a little bit and said like, hey, let's schedule something. Like, let's talk. And so we did. And it wasn't like I don't think I initiated that, right? I think
Mhm.
you did. It was like the next day.
Yeah.
I was like, this is cool. I'm going to see a sign here. Tyler's got something special about him. And then we had a Zoom. We talked, and we've been talking now for 7 or 8 months. And you've done some amazing things. I think that you've already had some amazing experiences, specifically in the hotel business, but such a diverse experience with operations, very hands-on, anywhere from housekeeping to pre-opening to opening to front desk to being a manager to having pivoted a bit in the COVID world. Now you're doing remote training, and you are a systems expert in. I made another post talking about, I didn't say your name, I don't think, but I said, hey, I know someone that look at all these different systems that he knows.
Mhm.
Marriott, Hilton, like Choice and Wyndham and all these different. And I was like, wow. And then now you're training and you understand SAP, right? Or SAP,
Yeah.
SAP. And I'm just fascinated by you, man. I have learned a lot from you. And you've been inspiring me in just bringing out my own creativity. And so, lastly, and I want to ask you about this for our millions of fans, Tyler. You, I think you said enough is enough. I'm just going to start my own company.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So tell me, it is called Sitka. I'm going to ask you a little bit about the name and stuff like that. But what made you do that?
So I will be honest, I've been working in hotels for several years, and every hotel that I've gone to, I've just not really been happy. I've been happy with the experience that's provided to the guests. I've enjoyed every aspect of the hospitality industry, but I was never really a fan of the structure of the industry. It was really starting to feel like it wasn't aimed towards the younger generation to come into the industry. It really felt like that was a big damper just due to my age, even though I have this diverse skill set and this diverse range of experiences. I strongly felt like my age was holding me back in the industry, and I really wanted to be able to kind of put my foot down and to just kind of start my own thing and be able to see where I can take it. Because I've been told multiple times in my career pathway, I won't amount to anything until I'm at least 30. I won't be able to do anything. I won't even be able to be an assistant general manager until I'm 25. And I've already been AGM at several hotels thanks to a specific individual who I'm not going to name. But it's been a really rewarding career path, but I really want to take my own twist to it.
I think that's a great story because that's what you mean by the structure of our industry, and I'll call it the current state, of the industry. And uh, I got you by a few years, but when I was your age, I heard the same crap. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I knew it was crap. And other people that were in the know, they said that's crap. Meaning, I said, "Hey, my I'm noticing that my all my bosses are like over 60. Do, and I'm in my early 20s. Does that mean that like I got like 40 years to go until I can become a manager?" And some of them would be like, "Yeah, no, you got a long way to go. You got lots to learn." I was like, "Well,
Mhm.
I've been doing this for already 4 years or 5 years. I started when I was 17." And they're like, "Oh yeah, well, you really got to make your bones. You got to." I said, "I am. That's isn't that what I'm doing now?"
Yeah.
And I got my first general manager's job when I think I was 28. Um, and I was told the same thing, that it probably wouldn't happen until 30 from them,
Mhm.
like those people. And so a big part of this podcast, and I can see about 30 people that have already been on our podcast shaking their head because we've a lot of us have had this experience. And so, but that's okay, right? I think when you mention the younger generation, um, I what you're experiencing, I actually didn't experience as much in my generation, and that is this uh, digital recruiting age that we're in.
Mhm.
For if there's 100 jobs available at a company, they might have, I don't know, a million applicants, from ZipRecruiter to Indeed and all these different. And I can imagine how they sift through all that. And then when COVID hit, it exploded, and a lot of those recruiting costs exploded. And the younger generation, how were you feeling when that was going on? Like, were you feeling like, "Hey, come on, I'm here. Like, I can do so much more," or were you feeling like, "Out, I'm gonna go find something else to do"?
I will say this, whenever the pandemic first hit, I was working night audit with a Hilton property, and every night on night audit, I knew that there was gonna be layoffs coming, and I would go around the entire hotel, and I would mop the entire lobby, vacuum the hallways whenever I had, like, certain areas if there were no guests, and, like, if we had all the guests on one floor, I'd go vacuum the other, and vice versa. It was a really tough time whenever the pandemic officially hit, though, and I still got laid off despite helping build the breakfast bar, helping set everything up every morning, helping run the night audit. Because I honestly didn't think that they would make the GM and AGM work a night audit and do back-to-back 12-hour shifts during the pandemic, but they did. It was a very common occurrence at several hotels, and as soon as I got laid off, that was the first hotel I ever worked at, and I thought I was done in the industry. I actually went and got a security guard job for about a month before I finally got to come back, and it was a really drastic change just at the beginning. It was amazing to get to come back into the industry and to see how the industry changed during the pandemic. And it was also really interesting to see how the industry was different after the pandemic as well. It's radically different than it was in the midst of the pandemic now, but it's still different than beforehand at the same time. Like
Mm.
digital check-ins becoming more of a thing. There's a lot more sanitation procedures in place despite COVID not being as prevalent as it once was. And it's interesting to just see how the industry is adjusted to that. And I feel like there's many other things the industry can adjust to that they've chosen not to.
We're gonna ask you about that, but what do you think? What do you have in you that gave you that spark to be like, "Hey, the layoffs are coming, COVID's coming," or sometimes when people start talking about a recession is coming, what
Mhm.
do you think that you have in you that is different than others that made you go sweep floors and set up breakfast, be like, "I am going to be indispensable"? What?
So that actually came before the pandemic ever started. I started in the industry actually as a bed maker. Whenever I was 16, I was in high school. I was in a at-risk youth program at high school, and I was able to go work at the local Hilton and get beds made every day for 2.5 hours a day, and that counted as a high school credit, and it actually led to my early graduation. It was an amazing opportunity to join in the hotels then because I was just leaving a really rough situation, home life, family life, and It felt like a home away from home. The team was absolutely amazing. Everybody was accepting, and the guest experience, I think, was my favorite part. Every time I would just get into an elevator and just be with a guest, I would ask them, "How's everything going? How's your stay going?" Just to try to understand and get a full comprehension of everything that they were enjoying about their stay.
Home away from home, dude. When you're going through some struggles at your own home, and then you get an opportunity to work at a hotel and you felt that way, it does bring tears to my eyes because I've felt that way also with some of the teams that I work in, and it literally can be the same way as having a nice, comfortable experience at home. And so, hey, we spend sometimes 8, like you said, sometimes 12, 2 back-to-back 12-hour shifts. And so it better be
Mhm.
nice. And so, thanks for sharing that, Tyler. Broseph just joined us. There's Matt.
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you, Tyler. Heard
Hey,
tremendous things about you.
nice to meet you as well, Matt. Very happy to meet you finally and see you face to face.
Yeah, we're headset brothers today.
Yes, we are.
There we go. Okay, I'm trying to do the visual here. Yeah, I could probably use a headset. I don't.
I have it just because I'm in a conference room in an office today, and it's like it
Yeah,
background noise out and makes it a little more better.
we had to change around times a little bit, so thank you both for being available and everything. Matt, we spent about 15 or so minutes talking about what brought Tyler into the industry of hotels and his career and stuff. I gave him a little prep before we started recording about your industry: Agile, Scrum Master, leadership, team building, even software engineering and things like that. And I'll just say very briefly, because I've said it once, but the Tyler has a very diverse background as far as talent and experience, specifically in the hotel industry, but it's really any industry because uh, he's done operations, hands-on, face-to-face, guest team building, working at the property level at hotels, and has also become an expert at um, the remote training technical aspect of onboarding, implementation, um, and I'll just say that whole umbrella of items. Working for brands as large as Wyndham, working for hotel management companies, working, and then so you can imagine all those integrations and things like that. And so I talked about how I originally met Tyler, which was in person several years ago on a job when he was working at one of those hotels. And then a couple years later, when I made that birthday challenge which basically said, hey, everybody on LinkedIn, don't send me any birthday messages today. Instead, make a comment here and recognize a mentor. And um, and then I shared it with millions of people. Matt, you actually recognized Jeff Sutherland, the originator or grandfather of Scrum, right,
Yep.
and Agile. And Tyler was, I think, the only other person to take the time and mention one of his mentors, and we just went through that, and that was Christy Johnson. And I said, hey, I'm going to recognize her again after today's show to say hello, and just to stay engaged, because what I said, that means Tyler is technically, I have 7,000 people in my network on LinkedIn, so he's at the very least 1 out of 7,000. But I said 1 out of 1,000. And we've known each other ever since, right? And so that's what a couple episodes ago we talked about, Matt, about being in whatever you're doing, being in. Like, what does it mean to be in your industry? And Tyler, he's in, and he doesn't let me forget stuff either. I get busy, and he's like, "Hey, we had a meeting today. We want to reschedule." I'm just kidding, but no, he does. He's. I would encourage everyone to do that. Be like, "Hey, go out there and engage and be yourself and all that." So we talked through a little bit of that. But now that you're here, our podcast is all about worlds colliding and
Yeah.
learning from each other. Maybe I'll throw it out there, Tyler. After me telling you a little bit about Matt and You've seen a couple of our episodes. Any questions for Matt about the Agile world? Or
It's definitely a very interesting world, I've got to say that. Actually, Adam referenced me the Scrum book by Jeff Sutherland, so I'm really looking forward to giving that a go through here soon. And it's a topic I'm really excited to expand my knowledge on and learn a little bit. I am curious if you have anything to say about it.
Yeah, cool. So that's the do twice the work in half the time book.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's the famous one that gets it all started. Yeah, there's a lot of things. Actually, Agile has been a hot buzzword for like the last 10, 15 years. And now it's, I think, going through a transition where like everybody it's just so accepted out there that you need to be doing Agile. Even if you're not doing Agile, you need to say, all right, we're doing Agile, which in general terms just means that you're able to adapt to change. And if you're really committed, like as we talk about on this show, to continuous improvement, there's always a way to learn more, right? And challenge yourself. Take yourself, like be the next best version of yourself each and every day. Like, how do you do that? That's really what the Agile mindset is all about. And it also relates to just the pace of change. The reason why Agile became so hot in the last decade is because the pace of change around us, as you can see now with AI and with technology and everything, it's speeding up. It goes faster and faster. And you think, wow, it's already going so fast. There's no way it can go faster. But every year it goes faster, and it's affecting industries, right? Hospitality, it's affecting education, government, it's affecting everything. And it's not just technology, it's the change of everything. And COVID was the biggest example recently of a massive change coming into the system. That system could be hospitality, it could be technology companies, it could be your family, right? Anything. But that big change coming in, and when you have an Agile mindset and you can approach it, you can be the calm in the storm, or more of the calm in the storm, right? To help guide your family, your team, your company, whoever through that. So there's a lot to it. There's a question that's often asked when Agile professionals get interviewed, how would you define Agile? Is sometimes what gets thrown at people. And I think, not that there's any one right answer to an interview question, but I think the more correct answer to that is Agile is a mindset. And then elaborate on it just like I just did. But my point is that it's sort of like religion or a value or something that really you hold near and dear to your heart. There's a lot beneath the surface of that. Like the tip of the iceberg is, Agile is a mindset. I can adapt to change, and I like things. So I think
sorry, bro.
I was just gonna ask him a question. What's your I've heard a lot about you through my brother Tyler. I'm really excited to get to connect with you here, and this is this is an awesome opportunity to have the meeting of the minds here. What is your own personal habit when it comes to learning and growth and things like that? Like, what are one of the habits that you have related to that? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so whenever I'm wanting to learn something new, I always dive completely in. Like, I could be stuck on Google researching something for 12 hours, and I'll stay up all night long researching it if I want to learn something new. So I always just dive in, and it's one of those things that I cannot get my mindset away from it if it's something that's actually piquing my interest enough. It's just, if I can't sleep, I can't focus on anything unless I figure it out. So I'll continuously try and learn and figure things out.
That's a good segue, because Tyler, you're smarter than I even give you credit for. You even use the word "stuck" in there. You're pretty good. You know the topic of today. We're talking about getting unstuck. That's the general theme, but we're specifically talking about those ideas that might be stuck in your head. When you're falling asleep, you're having a conversation with somebody, and you're having an argument. You're having a debate with somebody, and it's keeping you up. Or you're in a job, you're in a career, and you're stuck. Or something that I deal with, quite regularly over the past 10, 15 years is, what about a hotel real estate transaction? What if there's a hotel that your team wants to buy or that you want to sell, and you're dealing with due diligence, you're dealing with bids, you're dealing with management transition and management companies? What if that's stuck, like an actual transaction, and you have the relational side going and it's ticking at 80 miles an hour, and then something happens. And so how do you get unstuck? And so I mentioned, Matt, earlier before you came on that one of the reasons why Tyler is qualified, I guess, to be a person that moves, because he actually takes an idea, like he said, for whatever reason. It might be because he's that kind of person, but he takes it to the next step. And he actually created a company last year. Congratulations again, Tyler, called
Thank you.
Sitka Hospitality. And I think it's brilliant. And I have already told him this, not to float his boat, but it's a need in the industry. It did remind me. We had a little bit of a conversation, a funny one about a movie that I'll mention, because it takes a lot of his diverse experiences and puts it into this company, which is shared here on the screen, called Sitka Hospitality Solutions. So, couple questions, Tyler, real quick. One, I will say congratulations on taking that step, right? So, but going back to that point, did you ever have the feeling like that you couldn't do it, or that you thought it was like going to be too expensive to start a company, or more difficult, or whatever?
Oh yeah. So I
You
will
did?
say this, whenever I first started to establish Sitka, we bounced between probably 5 or 6 different business concept ideas, and this was the one that ultimately I landed on. And when I say we, I'm referring to myself and my husband Alex. We've been doing this Sitka stuff for quite a while now, and we've talked about opening a plant nursery. We've talked about leaving the hospitality industry altogether. We've talked about focusing on the hospitality industry solely. And this right here is just kind of an idea that we had that we really wanted to bring to fruition. So we started to develop a website. We started to develop social media accounts. We developed an email account, contact information, and we've got formed as an LLC. And throughout the process, I have learned a ton about every aspect of it, to be honest with you, from the LLC formation to building the website to actually reaching out and connecting with different companies and trying to wrap my head around the best way to approach founding a hospitality company, because my goal was to get into hospitality, but I knew deep down that there was a way to get into it with my own business without having a lot of financial capital. Without financial capital, it's not going to be, a lot of people don't think it's going to be possible. And I wanted to prove that wrong.
Good for you. Good. You did what you say that you do. You go forward and you go all in, right? And we had a previous episode. It was called the Unknown episode, and it's about inspired by Lord of the Rings a little bit. Tolkien, about going into a deep dark forest, and as long as you got the right people around you that are supporting you, it's very scary when you're all alone. But just don't go in all alone. And so it sounds like you have not done that. You've gone in yourself, but you've brought in others, including myself, right? And so you said, "Hey, come on, let's talk about it." And so it's very unknown and very scary, or I should say maybe intimidating. And so you did it anyway, though. And so
Mhm.
congratulations. I would say that if I saw, I think this is an actual picture. Um, if I saw the left-hand picture, I would say that's also quite intimidating. I've seen it before, but you, and it sounds like you were part of turning the left one here into the right one, the before and
Yeah,
after. Yeah.
actually, those exact pictures right there, Alex and I, my husband, we sat in that hotel till about 2 in the morning, completely emptying that room out and putting stuff back in there and making sure to throw away what needed to be tossed, rewashing a lot of the linens, getting everything all organized. But that probably right there was one of our bigger projects that we've tackled.
You
That's
know, you
amazing.
say that, and I'm going to assume it was fun for you. I know it's hard work, but did you find like purpose in this?
Oh yeah, I have a lot of fun transforming spaces. It's one of those things that I really like the visual result at the end. I like to be able to look back and see the impact I've had.
Another great book. One of my mentors Dave McCarskey. I'll say hi to Dave here. Look him up on LinkedIn. He's an amazing hotelier and hospitality leader. Dave gave me a book probably over 20 years ago now called Dave, you're going to kill me. It's from a Gallup poll that had like tens of thousands of managers being interviewed. And it was, it's called First Break All the Rules. And it is a fascinating book. I would recommend it to anybody in management and leadership, because that was the title of the book. And that was what, after tons of research and tons of interviews over 10 years. And so that's what they said the greatest leaders actually do first. They break the rules. They don't listen to the people, Tyler, who you said that said, you can't be a general manager until you're 30. If that's a rule, you don't listen to it and you break it and you move forward anyway. And so thanks, Dave, for sharing that. I'll never forget that. There is one chapter in there. This is why I mentioned it. And they talk about housekeeping. And they talk about, it's not even the entire chapter, it's a few pages of the chapter. And it comes from the perspective of, most people think like, oh, you're a housekeeper, so you're probably in that job because you don't like it and you don't have to, but you need money. And so I'm going to be a housekeeper. I'm going to clean rooms. And you know what the motivation behind the greatest housekeepers and most of the greatest hoteliers? It's what you just said, Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
It's the idea of taking something from this, transforming it to that, which is better, and the visual. And then a housekeeper does that sometimes 15, sometimes 20 times a day. They go into a dirty room and they leave. And those ones that have it inside of them, they close the door, but they get a little sense of pride after every single room that they leave. And so that's why they vacuum out, but they get that, and it's like serotonin, probably. It's like a little bit of jolt of nice positive energy. And so you identified that in yourself, and you also identified that you don't stop. um, you're a person who moves, right? And so you make decisions and you actually create something. So Sitka Hospitality is a thing, right? That's what that
Mm-hmm.
you didn't just like get invited on this podcast, and you didn't go travel to a bunch of conferences and say, hey, I want to be on the panel and talk about all my views and my opinions because I'm so experienced in X, Y, and Z. You're not just talking about it. You actually created something. So kudos to you, man. That is awesome. And so I'm committed to you. And that's for all those reasons and more. That's why we invited you on here. Now the topic, to rewind a little bit, is getting unstuck. And so everything
Mm-hmm.
that we've been talking about is that, because what Matt was talking about with having an agile mindset, right? I'll take that off for a quick minute. I've heard other people also say, maybe they say this or not, but what gets me going, like when I feel like I'm not doing something I need to be doing, I think if I'm not moving forward, then that means I'm moving backward. And so if you think about it, right, if you have that feeling, and a lot of people don't feel that way, and that's okay. They feel like if I'm not moving forward, I'm just sitting here, I'm going to watch some TV. That's all right. I feel like if there's something I'm supposed to be doing, then I'm actually moving backwards if I'm not
Mm-hmm.
doing that thing, right? And so we can tap into that together. You know what I mean? Like as a nation, as an industry, it doesn't matter what the job is, because you can do it in your career. And one thing that I will mention is this: I asked the question, in order to get unstuck and do something. I asked the question online. Maybe I'll ask you guys right this: does it take more strength or more creativity to get unstuck? You have to pick one. So tell me what you think. Tyler,
I'm
you go
gonna
ahead. You're smiling.
Yeah, I'm gonna vote creativity. I actually talked about this a lot with family this morning about that exact topic, strength or creativity, and everybody told me strength. And I was told that I don't realize how much strength I had to put up through some of the things that I've done in the industry. However, My personal opinion is creativity, and that's because I've always been trying to strive for new ways to go about certain tasks. I've always been trying to come up with new ideas to make things more efficient and trying to come up with new methods in the industry. And that's realistically my goal, is coming up with new ways to do things, because I really like the impact that some of the things I do might have on other people, and just seeing their reactions. Like, for example, that laundry room photo that we showed just a little bit ago. Whenever that staff came in that next morning, we purposefully came into work just so we could see how their reactions were when they first came in and saw their laundry area completely changed. And it was a good change too. It wasn't a negative change that a lot of people think. So creativity goes a lot further, in my opinion, than strength does. Don't get me wrong, they're both important, but creativity in my book is going to be the one I'm going to go for.
Nice, bro. You got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with you. Creativity is what I was going to say too, Tyler, before you said it as well. So I agree with you. Probably for different reasons, right? It's a different perspective. Like, I think about that room, the room that you did there, with your, I think you did it with your husband. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For that.
Yep.
So, I mean, that it's a massive feat. So the reason why I say creativity is because creativity is something new, and that hotel, that particular location, especially that room, needed an injection of new. They needed new people, new eyes to look at it, with a new vision, with a new passion, with the new strength, right, and discipline to go see through to that vision. And they needed that because the existing, I'm guessing a little bit here, but the existing staff there, they get into the habit. Okay, this is the way the room is. It gets a little dirtier, a little messier, a little dirtier, a little messier. No big deal. And sort of the standards sort of come down because there's no creative energy or passionate visionary to really see the space in a better way until you came in and said, hey, we can help here. Boom. And you went to work, and yeah, it took a long time, but it started with you being the new creative innovator to really go in there and say, okay, we're going to set this up. Because it's not only setting it up, the massive change there, but I know just by looking at it that you set it up in such a way that it's going to be easier for the existing staff to maintain a cleaner place there. So their habit was upgraded just by what you did there. So I would definitely say creativity. And I also think that's the one that requires more patience.
Yeah, for sure.
Allow for that creative energy. Strength, you can just go like brute force strength or whatever. It's sort of like yin and yang, right? Like the masculine energy is go get it, strong, go, push, push, push. But creativity is a lot more of the yin. It's a lot more of the feminine energy. And it's more of like, hey, we know we can get there. So let's think about this. Let's take some smart steps here, put some good energy in, and then you balance that out. But it requires a patient mind and perspective to allow for that.
I agree 100%.
I recommend what I will say is the best business book ever written. Very thin. It'll probably take, I actually know that it takes 59 minutes to listen to on Audible. I have it on both this, and I've read it a couple times. John Cleese, I find to be the master of communicating the importance and critical nature of creativity in anything. And so I would encourage anyone to look it up on YouTube. He wrote this in 2020, or it was published in 2020. Look up on YouTube and type in creativity John Cleese, and you will see him. It's about an hour-long speech that he was invited to make in 1991.
Wow.
And they talked about a satellite being broadcast, and he's talking about this. He's talking about everything in here. And so a big part of what, and he's hilarious. He brings humor and a sensibility to it that I find fascinating. And he does talk about, he says everybody's creative, right? Children play all the time, and they're creative all the time. And he says, but they're not in the corporate office where they're playing and coming up with great ideas, and they don't have a boss saying, well, that's a stupid idea. Why would you want to do that? That's not possible this year. That's not even in the budget. Why would you want to do that? And so you get crushed. And so as adults, he says, everybody's creative, but what he says is you have to get into the operating mode of being creative. And some people call that scheduling white space on your calendar that's just open, like you're not going to do anything, but except come up with ideas or do something and see what happens. And so it's a creative, an operating mode that he says. That's what he defines creativity as. It's an actually operating mode. And so, and you can go into that next step, into that mode, just like you can actually go into a negative mode and feel horrible about yourself for a little while. And that's okay too. So I wanted to mention that because that's, I was talking about that. And of course I have to give a plug to our, there's Sitka Hospitality, and there's also
Today's sponsor,
hospitalityimpact.org, our nonprofit that is getting launched and talked about a lot over the next few weeks. And so I'm excited about that because that is all about bringing more creativity and innovation to our entire industry of hotels and hospitality in particular, and bringing an agile mindset, right, bro, to everyone, because that's where, if you have that, and then you couple it with creativity, that's where I think the strength comes from, because you're in it. I don't want to end our broadcast here without asking Tyler, what's up with the name Sitka?
So honestly, we started off with just looking at different pine trees because we're both garden enthusiasts. We both really like working out in the garden, and pine trees are one of our favorites, and Sitka just is the one that stuck. We tried aspen at first. We found some other companies with that name, so we started to look away from that, and we still wanted to keep it related to a pine tree, which I know just sounds kind of quirky, but it's one of our favorite plants out there. So we're always gardening. We're always doing landscaping stuff at home. We're always doing new projects. And we wanted to integrate our personal hobby into the business a little bit. And that's kind of where we did it.
Very nice. And you have nursery dreams also, which will come true. I think all your dreams are going to come true, man. You've got the power behind you, and the that mindset that is moving forward at regardless, and I'll be the first to say, even myself, don't listen to me. Listen to yourself, and you're already doing an excellent job at that, because you're moving things forward, man. And congratulations. And I couldn't be more proud to be your friend. And thanks for spending this time on here. And I know that everybody's busy. So, bro, also, I know that you're heading out. And so we will end the broadcast. Very randomly, anybody have a word of the day?
Initiative.
Boom. Initiative. That's what we're going to do. We'll have a hashtag. I'll share that. I'll give you full credit. And especially after you write your book, because you got a book in you, Tyler. I know you do. So you got to get writing. So to our millions and billions of fans out there, thank you very much for watching and listening. Thank you, Matt, Agile Game Changers, Tyler with Sitka Hospitality, and thank you for everything, and thanks for watching and listening. Love you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.